Hi guys, so today we are damp proofing, and the way I approached this was initially I got a company to give me a quotation to do the entire house, as we have rising and penetrative damp in this house, and they came in at over £5,000, which was far more than I had in budget for this kind of treatment. So I took the issue into my own hands and decided to do it myself. Now what I did was I used their quotation and I asked them to break it down into activities as to what they were going to do, and I went ahead and bought all the materials that they were going to use to apply the damp proof treatment. So essentially, to treat the rising damp and penetrative damp, they've put in these DryRods. These can be bought in kits from Amazon, and they come with the tools for cutting and cleaning out the holes as well. They also come with a drill bit that you can use for the specific wall. Make sure you buy the right depth of wall kit, because these are 9-inch walls. You may have deeper or shallower walls, so just check that out before you go ahead and buy the kits. So far they've been quite easy to install. We drill the holes approximately 120mm into the mortar bed, not the brick. The mortar bed at the required height, usually 2/4 up from the ground level. And then we insert the dry rods into those holes, and then we fill the top of the hole with some mortar repair kit. Again, that comes in the kit. You get a tool for cutting, you get a tool for removing all of the dust, and you get a tube of mortar repair adhesive. Secondly, we use DryBase, which is essentially a product that you paint onto the interior of the floor and the part below your damp proof course that you just put in. So that is essentially a two application paint. When we do, I've just done the first coat down here, and essentially what we do now is wait for this to dry, and we will paint the opposite direction before it's completed. Now it's important to remember that we need to clear out any dust, clean it as much as possible to get rid of all the dust in the zone before you start painting. You won't be able to get rid of all of it, but just do whatever you can. And then once that is completed and that is dry, we'll then apply a damp-proof membrane called DryBase Flex to the walls, and that will stop the walls from having damp coming through into the room. And that's applied with a special adhesive onto the wall like that. And then we apply the substrate, which is a felt type membrane, on top of the adhesive, and that then seals the wall and stops all the damp from coming into the room and pushes it instead exterior to the room. Now in this house as well, we will be looking to insulate, as we do not have any internal wall insulation, so we're going to do some insulation on this side of the wall once we've got the damp proofing completed, and then after the insulation is installed, we'll plasterboard. So I'll take you through how we're going to damp proof this room, and then we'll do the insulation on the video. Applied the first layer of DryBase to this wall, and don't worry too much, you will get dust, you will get bits coming off, and just keep going. But I would read the label on the tin before you get started, because depending on how crumbly your brick is, you may have to put a layer of SBR or dilute the paint first before you do your first coat. So do read the label before you get started. Once this coat is dry, I'll put a second coat on in the opposite direction. So this one's been applied this way, and I'll put a second coat on in this direction. Once this is dry, it takes about an hour to dry, and we'll try and cover as much as possible. That's basically the rule of thumb, and make sure you go over probably about 100mm at least on the floor, so you get a good seal. And just while we're on and waiting for this to dry, we talk about the dry rod for a second. So The way you install the dry rod, because I've not done the video for that, essentially what you do is you drill the hole into your wall. Now it's worth mentioning that you need to make sure you do not go all the way through the wall. This is a 9-inch wall and we go 8 inches deep, so the way you do that is you use a depth gauge or a piece of tape on your drill bit to tell you where the depth you need to drill is. Now once you've drilled the hole, you need to use a special tool that comes in the kit to remove any dust. So what you do is you put that in, turn it round and pull it out upwards, and it removes all the dust out of the hole before you put your dry rod in. Now secondly, again, these dry rods are made for a 9-inch hole, so they are 9-inch wall, sorry, so they are already kind of cut to size. However, you still need to cut them down if they're too long. Make sure you're wearing gloves when you handle the dry rods, because they do affect your skin, so they're full of chemical and that will dry out your skin. So when you cut them, you use a special cutting tool, you measure the depth and you just cut to the appropriate length and then put it in the hole. Dead easy, just make sure you're wearing gloves, guys. Now it's worth also mentioning that all of these products are produced by a company called Safeguard. I'm in no way affiliated with Safeguard in whatsoever. It just so happens that the company I used to get my quotation for damp proofing recommended these products, so I've copied that quotation to ensure that it matches the requirements for my building damp requirements. So I'm not affiliated with Safeguard. It's worth mentioning that these are all the same brand, the DryBase paint here, the DryBase Flex material, and also the DryRod.